Hello everybody, welcome to That's Football for your Premier League preview. Lots to get into, some massive games this weekend. I will also do my Arsenal versus Spurs combined 11 within this show because it's not that difficult. I'm sorry Spurs fans, but it isn't. Let's fly straight into it though. The big news is that Chelsea are going to back and stand by Graham Potter, which I think is the correct decision. But unfortunately, we're going to have to hit in on... Jamie Carragher, who yet again, I like Carragher. I think he does come out with interesting comments every now. Sorry for the pause. I wasn't trying to pretend that I think he's interesting. He does come out with some interesting comments sometimes, and he's come out with another perler about Graham Potter, which I just, my big issue with this is, if I give you the perler, basically what he's saying is that he'd be surprised if Graham Potter is still in a job at Chelsea next season, and also that he's wrong to compare his early struggles to those of Arteta, because effectively, or any other tactician that took time to adjust to newer surroundings like Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp, because he basically is saying that with regards to Potter, he can't really, he wants more time. But comparing himself to Arteta or Pep or anyone else is wrong. The clear differences are that Klopp and Arteta enjoyed big football moments which earned them instant credit, and had a definitive style of play. I just think this is... you know what? Look, we live in this... As fans, we all live in this world where, whether I'm doing this for a few hundred people or you're tweeting to two people, you're still putting an opinion out there that could go, very... be read by a lot of people or listened to by a lot of people. Carragher has that luxury of saying something and millions of people read it. And it doesn't matter if he's spouting from his arse, quite clearly, because it's just... I find it frustrating because although it's an opinion and you must always respect it, it's instantly refutable because it's instantly incorrect. It's almost like they don't do any research, and because it happened a few years ago, they can twist history. So Potter's got no right, according to Carragher, to compare himself to the struggles of Arteta or Pep or any other manager or Klopp in their first few months, because they did better than him and instantly had a style of play. I mean, Carragher played for Liverpool. Is he a Liverpool legend? I didn't watch, I'm not a Liverpool fan, but I remember tweeting out, clips taking the piss out of Klopp in his first few games because they were laughable. There wasn't a distinctive style of play. There wasn't hope or progression on the level that you'd go, he's going to win the Champions League or the Premier League, your first Premier League in 30 years. Arteta won an FA Cup with Arsenal. People were printing T-shirts. He parked the bus. He parked the bus and ground out results against Man City and Liverpool, but the football was shit. And it was a great job that Arteta did, but you couldn't anyone with a brain could see that the way Arteta was playing at the start of his reign at Arsenal was not how he's playing now. You had to take a leap of faith that you would get there. They played completely different. Arteta walked into Arsenal and went, I haven't got the players the way I want to play. I'm going to have to build from the back, be defensively sound and try and counter. And that's what they did. They're nothing like now. So when Carragher comes out with, I'll be surprised if Potter's got a job next season, and he's not allowed to compare himself to Arteta or Pep or Klopp and their struggles because they did better than him. I just think the arrogance of that. And you know what? With someone like Carragher as well, he would never say anything about Gerrard or a mate. I find this level of punditry, which has such a widespread, audience, completely laced with bias and nepotism. Because if that was Gerrard, he wouldn't say a fucking word. But because it's Potter, and maybe he doesn't know Potter, doesn't like Potter, doesn't think Chelsea should employ Potter, it's get the knife out, sharpen it, and let's have a go. It's the same nonsense that's not been apologised for him or Souness yet about Martinez. Too small for the Premier League. You've been absolutely owned by that and never come back about it. So I disagree with it. I disagree with it. I wholeheartedly disagree with it, because I think Graham Potter was absolutely spot on to compare himself to Arteta's situation at Arsenal, especially. Arteta came into Arsenal in the December. The club was a mess. He hadn't had a pre-season. He hadn't had a transfer window. And he basically had to grind his way through to the end of the season. They had some bad results. They won an FA Cup. And gradually he started building that club. And in his first 18 months, Arteta faced a lot of problems. A lot of Arsenal fans wanted him out. Potter's not been in that job 8 months. Of course he's got a right to compare himself to somebody else who's struggled. Of course he has a right. No pre-season, massive injury list, no transfer window yet. Of course he's got a right. And I think it's fantastic that Chelsea publicly have come out and said that they're behind him and that they are building something. And I don't think, as much as anyone's got a right to an opinion, I just think, someone like Carragher there, someone might actually believe that and agree with it. And it's completely wrong. It's completely wrong. So Potter's not got a right to come out and say there are parallels with other clubs that have had difficult starts with managers and we can build something here. No, I'm not having that. Why? Why aren't you having that? Why can't he have that? I mean, nothing's the same anyway. Everything's different, but all I think Potter was saying is that it's a difficult start, but I'm not the only manager who's had a difficult start. It's just weird victimisation. And you know what? Gary Neville sits with Carragher and he'll say, even though Solskjaer's shit and everyone knows he was shit, I'm not going to say anything because he's my mate. And Carragher did the same about Gerrard. But you'll jump onto Potter, you'll jump onto Mourinho. Bias, get rid of it. Get rid of bias. Wake up and smell the coffee and be a little bit more reasoned, because the bias stinks. It really does. So I applaud Chelsea. I just hope they've got the conviction to stick with it. I applaud the Chelsea fans that were, speaking to Potter outside the game yesterday. It's a difficult situation and nobody can carry the burden other than the fans of the club who are suffering. It's very difficult to be patient with your club. But I applaud the Chelsea fans that are being patient, because I think it could get worse before it gets better. And now look, if you lose your next 3 games, you've got to start thinking about the future. But I think for the now, you've got to progress. And the most important thing is that those players grasp the fact that they're the ones under the microscope. They're the ones who've got to deliver. We'll see. Anyway, back to the Premier League. What a weekend of football we've got. Kicks off with the Manchester derby. I did my combined 11 earlier. Manchester United against Manchester City. I think Man United will win it. I do. I don't think we have to win it. I just think we will win it. I think we're ready to send that statement out that we are progressing. And I think at Old Trafford, with the performances we've got at the moment, I think we can do it. And there's a few injury concerns. No Delo, maybe no Martial. Weghorst didn't get registered in time, so straight away you are missing your only striker. You are missing your better right back. But I still fancy Manchester United to do it. Man City need a result. I mean, Arsenal play obviously Spurs on Sunday. It's a big weekend in the title race, because if Man City get a result and Arsenal don't, or the other way round, it's pretty significant. But I fancy Man United in that. Liverpool-Brighton's big as well. You look at that league table, that is a big, big game, because obviously, as we can see, currently, Liverpool are not, they are ahead of Brighton, but by 1 point, and it's at Brighton, who've been fantastic recently. So that's a really interesting game. I think Liverpool need to win. They've got to start competing for that top 4. They need Champions League football. They can't rely on winning the Champions League to get it. So it's a big game for Liverpool, but Brighton are a really, really good team, and I think it's tough to. I'm going to go 1-1 with that. Everton Southampton's also massive, right down the other end. I mean, I would have moved Lampard on by now. I actually think Everton might beat Southampton, but I still think Lampard should have been moved on. For me, you're just delaying the inevitable. He is going to get sacked, whether it's next week, next year, or 2 years' time. I just don't think he's the right man to steer Everton wherever they want to go. But I fancy Everton to win that. Forest Leicester's massive as well. This relegation battles at 3:00 tomorrow. Forest against Leicester. Forest have got the confidence. It's at it's at not at Old Trafford. It's at the City Ground. I fancy Forest to win that 1-0. It will be a tight game, I think, and I think Forest just have the momentum. East Midlands derby, they're the home team. Yeah, Wolves, West Ham, another one. It's a catalogue of really. I mean, this is the joy of the Premier League. I love the Premier League at the moment. It's so good. Every game has got something going on, and that's because there's so many teams that can go down. There's so many teams fighting for top 4. There's not really many teams who are just stuck in the mid-table going, we're not involved in either. I think some teams would, and I think Wolves and West Ham would love to be that team. But yeah, I mean, I'd go with a draw with this. Again, Wolves need to win it. West Ham can't afford to lose it, so I'll go with a draw. And then Brentford against Bournemouth. You've got to fancy Brentford. They're having a very good season, Brentford. In fact, Brentford are probably the closest thing we've got to a team that is sort of around the mid-table and comfortable. They're 7 points clear of Leicester in 13th. In fact, they're 9 points clear of Leicester in 13th. And then they're obviously not going to be the top four race. So Brentford are very much mid-table, but this is the sort of game they need to go and win and just get themselves to that 40 points as soon as they can. So I'm going to go with the Brentford home win then. That pushes us to the that pushes us to Sunday. Chelsea against Palace. We've been speaking about Chelsea. That has to be a win for Chelsea, but Palace are on a wretched run themselves. Palace could quite easily get pulled into the relegation scrap. They are sort of mid-table with 22 points. Again, they've got 5 points on Leicester, but they've got Man United midweek. They've got Chelsea at the weekend. They need to be taking some points from those two games, otherwise they will get sucked in. But I think Chelsea have to win that by hook or by crook. Whether it's 1-0 and they play shit, they've got to win. So I'm going to go with the Chelsea win there. You've got Newcastle, Fulham. Fulham have been so good. I think this is where Newcastle struggle, actually. Home games against teams where you go, they're going to win. Newcastle have been very good at sort of defying the odds. They played Leeds at home a couple of weeks ago and they drew, didn't they? I can see this being a draw again. I can see Newcastle drawing this with Fulham. And then Tottenham, Arsenal. Well, look, Tottenham want to get back into the top four. I don't think they will, but they want to. Arsenal want to win a league. I think there's more chance of Arsenal winning the league than Tottenham getting top four. That's terrible to say, but I do. I don't see Tottenham getting top four. Arsenal, I think Man City will still win the league, but Arsenal are in a good position. So this is the sort of game where if Arsenal go to Tottenham and win, you've got to start saying with Man United at home next week, if they can take 6 points from Spurs away and United at home, you've got to start going, well, who's going to stop them then? Where are these points going to get dropped? Of course, if Arsenal have got a 5-point gap with 4 games to go and they've got Bournemouth at home, they could lose that because of the pressure of being in a title race. But if they can go to Spurs and win and they can beat United at home, then, I mean, it's a massive week for Arsenal. You know what? I fancy them to... I think this is out of the box thinking, but I fancy them to beat Spurs. I do. I think Arsenal are a good team this year. And I think Spurs are... You never know. I mean, the North London derby is an equaliser, of course it is, but I fancy Arsenal to win. I do. I'm going to go Arsenal to win, which leads me on to my combined 11 for Arsenal. Basically, can I get any Spurs players into the Arsenal team? It's not something I'm going to spend minutes on. I put Harry Kane up front. I would put Harry Kane up front. I'd have a debate about Son and Martinelli, but this season it's got to be Martinelli. I like Bentancur and I like Højbjerg, but I don't think you'd put them in over Partey and Xhaka this year. Games are won and lost in the midfield and Arsenal have been relentless. Centre-backs, no, I'd stick with what Arsenal have got. Full-backs, I'd stick with what Arsenal have got. Goalkeeper, I'd stick with Arsenal. Harry Kane would go in, and it's very easy to put Harry Kane in at the moment because Jesus is injured anyway, but Harry Kane goes in. A fit and firing on form Son probably pushes Martinelli out, but right now I think you've got a case to say that Martinelli deserves it. So, I mean, that's just the improvement of Arsenal. It's a long time since you would say, there's total and utter domination, wouldn't you? But look, that would be mine. Get your comments in below. This weekend we have got the North London derby on That's Football watch along on Sunday afternoon. I'm on the United stand for Manchester United against City. Make sure you smash a like on the video, get your comments in below, and do subscribe and get your comments in. Am I right about Potter or am I wrong? Is Carragher right? Get your comments in.